I moved the mic. Am I still sounding okay?
You sound great, Sam. This is Bill Gross. This is Probate Weekly, and I'm really excited today. We often talk about the real estate, but today we're going to talk about what to do with all the stuff other than the real estate. And it's a privilege to have back some of you I've talked to before. Sam Price, one of the leading real estate agents in San Bernardino County and throughout Southern California, based in Redlands, where I went to college my freshman year and a couple summers in camp. Sam Price, thanks for joining us today.
Bill, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
So, what are the challenges of the non-real estate? I mean, there's a whole list of things that it can be. I've dealt with a bunch of myself. So, but you as the attorney, when you talk to a prospective client in the beginning or sign up and they start the process, what's the conversation about this stuff look like?
First off, everyone's really hyper focused on the real estate, and rightly so. That's the 800-pound gorilla in a regular probate matter. But what I typically find is that the average probate matter consists of a house, a bank account, and a car. But what many of us forget about is the stuff. And the stuff I'm talking about is what we lawyers call intangible personal property. So it is the contents of the home. Things like your furniture, your equipment, the tools in the garage, all these things that your clothing, your jewelry, your shoes, it's all of your stuff. And typically, that stuff, what I find, is the sticking point sometimes in probate matters. Most people are in agreement that the house needs to be sold. If mom passed away and had 4 children, then each one gets a fourth. No one wants 1/4 of a house that they don't live in. They want their money. Are you finding that to be true as well, Bill, with houses?
Yeah, though often there's the one child who's living in the house who was the caregiver and wants to live there for free as long as they can, and that creates some problems. But in general, if nobody's living in the house, yeah, they just want the money, sell it, and get me the money as easily and efficiently as much as you can.
Absolutely. And so the reality of the world today is that many people don't have the money to move out of the house, and they may not have the money to buy the house. And so there's some sticking point there. But that's probably for another day. Today, if we're just talking about, okay, mom passed away, she's got a bunch of stuff in the house, what do we do with it? And so kind of the big picture of what we do with the stuff is, first off, if there are certain items that any of the heirs or beneficiaries of the estate want, we want to get that to them. They're entitled to those things. And mostly people are looking for sentimental items. They're looking for things that have a memory to them, some type of family heirloom, that type of photo albums, that kind of stuff, meaningful property. And they should be able to come and get it. And then there needs to be some type of way that is fair to everyone, that if they're getting some of these items, that these items can be, if more than one person wants the same item, there needs to be some fair way that they can get what they want. Sometimes we go round robin. Sometimes we do eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Sometimes we flip a coin. Whatever is fair to everyone. And that should be a discussion about what's fair to you, about how we determine who gets the lamp, if 2 people want the lamp. Once we've distributed out and given this personal property, we next will sell whatever is sellable. We'll have an
Well,
estate
hold
sale.
on.
We'll have a garage sale.
Well, before we go there, let's stop at the prior piece, which is distributing. And the
Yes.
phrase you used was, "We'll do what's fair."
Yes.
Who decides what's fair?
We all get together, don't we? I mean, there needs to be some way. Either we give them some options and say, we're not going to split the lamp in 2. But what we could do is, what would be fair to you to determine who gets the lamp? Should we all take turns of getting one thing out of the house that we want? And which turn everyone has? Do we throw dice? Do we pick straws? Whatever way is fair to everyone, that everyone feels is right. I've had some heirs that say, you know what, my sister's older. I'll let my sister pick first. That's cool. And if everyone's cool with that, then everyone's cool with that.
What happens when somebody's not cool with that? What happens when, because oftentimes I find in probate, There's estranged family members, and there's unresolved hostilities from 30 years ago. I lived that. My mother went through that when her mother passed away, and she and her father had this resentment over an item that she thought she was entitled to. So oftentimes, I know there are times there are conflicts. As an attorney, you're not the adjudicator. You're the attorney giving legal advice. So what do you tell an administrator who calls you up, or a client of yours who's saying, gee, there's my two brothers are fighting over the lamp, and I can't seem to get them to be fair. At the end of the day, who decides what fair is? Is it up to the administrator within reason to make those decisions, or how do you advise them?
So keeping in mind that my client is the personal representative of the estate, there is a fiduciary duty there. The highest duty under the law to act in others' person's best interest. And so keeping in mind that they have a fiduciary duty to act in everyone's best interest, they can't favor one person over another, even if it's themselves. Maybe even, they might even want it as an heir to the estate. But so there needs to be some way, if we can't resolve it at the time. So sometimes we've been at the house and everyone's picking up items and two people want the same lamp. Well, you know what? Why don't we set the lamp aside for now? And then let's come up with a way that is fair to everyone. Or maybe you'll trade the lamp for the photo album. And so you'll be fine to do that trade. There's got to be some way, okay, you get the lamp and I'll take the photo album. There has to be some way to do it. And this is a discussion, this is a negotiation. And so, but if you've got an item like a lamp, only one person can really have that lamp, I tell you. But sometimes you have situations where we've done this with photos. Hey, can we scan all these pictures? Would you be fine with, rather than having the physical, fading? Do you remember the Polaroid pictures, like these 1970s, right?
I have a bunch of family photos from 1970s and 60s even. I'm older than you, so I've got older than that.
Sure. So, do you really want that? Or can we just scan it and maybe even digitize it to you, and you can put it on that nice new, we have these electronic ways to see photo albums that you put on your nightstand. So there's different ways, and what is fair to everyone can be different things. Maybe the guys bid for it. Hey, you know what? Instead of having it distributed, why don't we each pay an amount of money for it? You know what? The lamp, I'll pay $80. Really? I'll pay 100. Okay, well, you could have it for 100. Depends on what would be the right and fair thing for each person, because at the end of the day, only one person can have the lamp. So what that fair way is something that, again, that everyone would be okay with. But at the end of the day, we need to get the house empty.
So now we've agreed on the. So now we've agreed on the personal items that have sentimental or value that we want to keep, and now we have items that nobody particularly wants, but we'd like to sell.
Well,
so
if I could talk a little bit more about receiving items. So typically, most things don't have a value to them. They'll have sentimental value, emotional value, but they don't have an economic value, because everything is used stuff. During COVID, you couldn't give stuff away. Goodwill wouldn't take your couch during COVID. So some of these things had no value to them. And a lot of the things that people would want are going to be no economic value. But if it does have an economic value, then we need to be able to value that property, and what they receive is going to be a portion of their inheritance. So I want to give some examples of what I'm talking about. If mom had a diamond ring and someone wants the diamond ring, if we get it appraised, and hopefully this appraisal is close in value to what the true value of the ring is. Because if the value of the ring is $5,000, but it's appraised at $8,000, everybody wants it. Because, I could take it for $5,000, but I could sell it for $8,000? Oh, are you kidding me? Give me the ring. I'll take it. But if the appraisal is off the other way, if the appraisal says $5,000, but really it's only worth $2,000, well, people are like, what? That ring it's only worth $2,000. I'm not going to pay $5,000 for it. Why don't you go sell it for $5,000 and give us the money? But in reality, if we could get a $5,000 ring with a $5,000 appraisal, And I'm always baffled by these appraisals, right? I mean, anything is only ever worth what someone would pay for it.
Yes.
But because an appraisal is part art and part science, right? But it's not exact. And you find someone who's willing to pay that money, then you don't really have a really good value. But as best we can, some of these items that have a value to them, if we're distributing them, then we need to be able to uh, uh, value them so that people can take them at that value, unless they're just sentimental value. Now, the probate code is pretty clear that the personal representative can exercise the power to dispose or abandon tangible personal property without court authorization. I want to quote the probate code section that says that. That's probate code section 9781. So so long as the property is not specifically devised in a will, so if there's a will that gives a specific gift of that property, the administrator is obligated to comply with the terms of the will. But if there's no will that gives a specific gift, then the personal representative can collect, maintain, and safeguard property and or abandon it or dispose of it if keeping it would exceed its value. And so sometimes that's often the case. I mean, gosh, how many people have a self-storage unit full of stuff, and the cost of keeping the self-storage unit is more than the value of the stuff inside the unit? And so oftentimes you need to get rid of this stuff in some way.
If people watch, if you've ever seen Storage Wars, where they buy these abandoned storage units, but they only show ones with interesting stuff in it because that makes good television. The ones that are worth nothing, which is 90% of them, 95% of them, as I understand it, they don't show it. So people have this inflated sense of what stuff is worth. That's a challenge. I think I often find that people expect, well, we have a house full of stuff, it must be worth $5,000-$10,000. No, it actually would cost $2,000 to get rid of most of that stuff, to be honest.
Bill, I'm a normal person. When I die, you might as well just back up a trash truck to the front door and just throw away everything in the house. You'd be like, Sam, why did you keep all that stuff? It's junk, right? I mean, most of the stuff in my own house will probably be just trash when I'm gone. So that's the gist of it. Is we want to first,
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's really, the grammar connection issue here.
Sorry, buddy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
I think we're good.
So, more or less, the stuff in your house, if any of the heirs can come and get it and they want that stuff, keep track of what they've gotten. But, if it's sentimental value, I wouldn't bother inventorying or appraising it. If it's something that does have value, then we do need to inventory that, and that is a part of their inheritance.
One of the fun parts in personal property that I deal with sometimes is guns. You just can't walk in a house and you can, but it creates some problems. People do. People have, in my experience.
Yeah.
I'm not naming names unless I put it under oath. I'll take the fifth, I guess. But people have, and there's a process, particularly in California, particularly in certain cities, LA County. So what do you advise administrators in those cases to do? Obviously, in most cases I've been involved with, the cost to transfer the gun is not worth the value of the weapon. It's just cheaper to turn it into the police for zero cost. But what do you recommend?
Yeah. So the two things that I never find in any estates are guns and cash.
Oh wow!
Basically, right? Think about
I've had estates, but I've had storage estate companies find cash and turn it over to us. I can. There's two cases. It seems, and I was amazed. Like they found a couple $1,000s in one case, a couple hundred in another case, and they turned over to us. So they went through the house and found stuff, and yeah. But generally, you're right. That's not. You're not going to. Don't expect anybody to turn over the cash. That's Yeah.
If we're following the law, what we're supposed to do is inventory all assets down to the change in the decedent's pocket when they died. But in reality, practically that doesn't really happen. And so when it comes to the stuff, we're creating categories. We're not going to inventory every spoon in the house. What we're going to do is create the category of furniture and furnishings, clothing and shoes, costume jewelry, tools and equipment in the garage. There's broad categories of what we're creating, but if we are creating an inventory of those items, we've got to inventory and appraise those items. And so, what does a probate referee do with these categories? They, unless they have much information about what the value is, these categories get a broad value. I'm usually seeing somewhere between $2,000 to $3,000 for all the contents of a house on an inventory and appraisal. I'm not really seeing a huge value. And, again, you have to not think of the replacement value, not think of what the cost was to purchase that item new. What is the garage sale prices value of this used stuff inside the house?
One of the challenges I imagine is if you value the stuff at $2,000 and somebody says, "Well, I'll take all of that," they're paying $2,000 out of their distribution for that, right?
Yeah, like storage wars. You could have your own little storage wars about, I'll pay $2,000 for all the stuff in the house. But see, all those people had like thrift stores where they're reselling all those items. I think. Yeah.
I've been approached by numerous companies that purport to take this process and put it online, whether they're going to inventory it all and sell it online or other formats. I'm sure they must have approached you as well. Do you use any services in particular that help you with the distribution or the inventory of it and distribution of personal property and then the ultimate sale of it?
Yeah, we have used certain estate sale companies. But again, as I'm saying, I'm not seeing a whole lot of value in that on a typical house. If there was something of real value, maybe that stuff is gone already, or they've removed those things from the house to safeguard them. And I'm sorry, I totally blew over the guns question. And when it comes to firearms, again, any transfer of a firearm should really go through a licensed dealer. Even transporting the item can have liability, and they need to be transported properly. And so, when it comes to firearms, most people, when they have firearms in their family, most people are very familiar with them. They come in two camps: either they're very familiar with them, or they don't want to have anything to do with them. And again, to get rid of them, and you don't want anything for them,
Correct.
you could always bring them to the law enforcement, and they can dispose of them. The second item would be to sell them through a licensed dealer.
Which is, again, for nice collectible or exotic pieces, there's money there. But my experience is the guy had an old 327 revolver or a semi-automatic pistol in his house. It's worth a couple $100. It's worth about that to get the license transfer fee in California these days. So some of that, I will offer anybody who wants to know, I kind of enjoy helping people who are in that pickle. If you have some guns, you know what to do with them, transport them legally and safely. I know how to do that, and I've done that many times. So one good reason to pick me as a realtor is I can help you get rid of guns and take them to the law enforcement if that's what's required. So
that's perfect.
So,
and,
okay.
There's so many restrictions on not just the type of firearm, but also on who can receive it.
Yes.
And it's so many rules. I don't even know all the rules. I just know there's a lot of problems. I say, it's all solved by going to a licensed dealer.
Can be, yeah. I mean, and oftentimes they can, the challenge there though is you can't take the gun and give it to the licensed dealer, right? You have to sell it to them. You can give it to the law enforcement and they'll dispose of it. So kind of, just my experience, 99% of the time, 90% of the time, people had guns, unless they were collectible or exotic historical pieces, they're worth about as much as the transfer is these days, and it's hard to get any money out of that. So, okay, so there's that. And then at the end, you have sentimental stuff, you have valuable stuff, you've sold the valuable stuff, you're left with stuff. Somebody's got to get rid of that. So what's that process look like? The administrator or executor need to fill it as is, right?
Yeah. So
I'm back.
kind of the decision tree kind of is to first come, heirs and beneficiaries, come get what you want. We'll figure out a nice, friendly way to divvy up all the stuff. Number two, let's sell what we can, whether that, and there's a lot of different methods and options of how to sell all the stuff. Third would be, let's donate what we can give away. Maybe we might be able to get a little write-off in order to donate items. And whatever we can't donate, we will throw away. And so there is a type of notice, and I don't see a lot of people doing this. I sometimes do this in estates, sometimes I don't. It depends on the assets and the beneficiaries, how friendly we are with everybody. But there is something called a notice of proposed disposition or abandonment. Let me say that again. Notice of proposed disposition or abandonment. And this is under Probate Code section 9780 at SEC. And this notice is different from a notice of proposed action. It's only a 10-day waiting period, but you're telling the heirs of the estate what you're going to do with the stuff. So you can tell them exactly this 4-step process. We would like for you all to come together on a certain day, and we'll all come and get the things that we would like. If that day isn't convenient for everyone, we could reschedule to a day when everyone is, because we want to be open and transparent about what we're doing with the personal property. And if there isn't some type of agreement, we'll set something aside. So we'll give everything away. What we don't give away, we're going to sell, and what we can't sell, we're going to donate, and what we can't donate, we're going to throw away. So this can be in that notice of proposed disposition or abandonment. And it's something I typically create on pleading paper. And what I'll do is I'll send one to you, Bill, so that you can maybe upload that to the show notes so that someone can see what this might look like. But it's if you personally serve, you can give 5 days notice, but if you mail it, which I typically do, it's a 10-day notice period.
And so that kind of covers an administrator that there's no, this is the process and abide by it, and if not, forever hold your peace.
Exactly right. And every time we're giving notice, we are communicating about what we're doing with an estate. And besides communicating, we are also giving the proper notice that if you have a problem with me trashing out the house, it's cool, come get what you want. Because it's cheaper for you to come get it than me to have to pay someone to trash it out.
Increasingly, when a property is being bought by an investor in the negotiation process, I'll try to find a way to get them to buy it with whatever trash is left. Because to trash it out, the last the last 20, 30, 40% of material in the house, it costs more than people would ever imagine these days. The cost of the labor's gone up, the restrictions on dumping and all that. And so, whereas in the past, it might be $1,000, $1,500, I got a quote the other day for one for $15,000. Now they had left a lot of the furniture and other things as well, but I'm saying that it's gone up about 3 times since COVID, and so increasingly now we're trying to sell the property with the trash accepted rather than floor swept as the default in the contract, just to save the estate money. Because if a contractor's buying it, they're going to have a team anyhow. They're going to rip out the cabinets, the furniture, the flooring and the whatever walls they're going to do. For them to trash out is easier. Is that something that you're okay with, or you would advise an administrator to consider if they're not going to keep the property?
Certainly. And so if the idea is that we aren't going to distribute any of these things, it's not sellable, certainly you can say, hey, buyer, if you'll take the property with all the stuff in it, then it'll save us from having to trash it out. And, you're right. Like most people just think, oh, I'll get 2 guys in a truck. Well, I don't know. It's not as easy as, if it only was that simple, it's not.
Well, you can't go to Home Depot and get 2 guys anymore. That's a whole nother discussion we're not going to go into. There was a time you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, you get 2 guys and you give them whatever, and you buy them lunch and a couple $100 each, and you're good.
Right.
Not today in Los Angeles, at least. I don't know what's like in Redlands, but not in Los Angeles today. It's not.
No, I don't think anybody's hanging around Home Depot looking for work like that.
You're gonna find trouble. You're gonna have people honking at you or chasing you out there, probably calling you ICE. I think in LA, that's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So if you had to summarize, I know you have a very active practice. What are the 1 or 2 areas that involve personal property that you see most of the conflict over? What's the typical, most common fight, that gets escalated where it comes to you and you actually have to get involved as an attorney to help resolve the matter?
I would say it's two things. Number one, it's one person having access to the house and someone not having access to the house. And
Yeah.
so typically, maybe someone else lived nearby and they helped mom or dad out a lot, and then they had some way to get in the house because they had a key or what have you, and they have access. But then there's some other child that didn't have the same access and is very accusatory of you've had access to the house, what was in there, is stuff missing, I don't know. I find not being open and transparent is the real problem, the communication, the idea that, well, I don't know what's there, so are you hiding something from me?
Right.
And there might be nothing being hidden. Oftentimes, I don't think there is, but it's just this idea of it's about trust, isn't it? I think that there's some type of loss of trust there.
Right. And I think some of these relationships come in with a lack of trust, and you have to work to earn the trust. I think I just try to tell people, trust like a bank account. It's zero until you put something in it. And if you start off with disclosing and communicating and sharing and documenting, you're putting some deposits to create some trust. And if you don't do that, and you say, well, trust me, I'm honest. Well, every thief says they're honest. That's, I think, part of the challenge. So, yeah, I think those are common issues. It is not any one thing. It's just the relationship. Mom and Dad had the crown jewels of England, but where'd they go? Why didn't you find them? Well, they probably didn't have the crown jewels in their closet, but who knows? And so
if I could give another example. So my friend, I'm sorry, an estate I was involved in. So I represent the personal representative, and his brother passed away. And his friend mentioned that the friend of the decedent said, oh, we always talked about stock. I wonder if he had any stock. And you're like, gosh, I don't know if he had any stock. So what he wanted was access to the decedent's iPhone, and that little code, the little beep, 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 and then open the phone. That's what he wanted. But Apple doesn't give that out to anybody. Do you remember that federal case? Do you remember they're terrorists in San Bernardino? And then they had the iPhone. The federal government was telling Apple to unlock the phone, and they said, no, we don't do that. And the federal government eventually found a company that hacked the phone, that opened it. But Apple was not going to give you that number, and they won't give it to you.
Imagine that.
Yeah. The federal government jailbreak somebody's phone.
Imagine a hacker.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't think there's a way to get into anybody's phone, you're just living in a dream world. I mean, there are phones that are encrypted phones that the military uses and such, but it's a general rule. Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So that's part of the non-real property also, is getting access. I know for me, I won't give out too many details, but I have everything online, and I have a plan, and I have a password protected thing, and then I have a place for the password. And I was just talking to my daughter and son-in-law the other day about it. Well, yeah, and they have a procedure where somebody passes, and you give them a death certificate, and you give them letters of administration. They will forward you the master password of the decedent, as long as you told them ahead of time that's what you wanted. But a lot of people, you don't have that access. What do you do to get access to things online, or can you?
And that's what we were trying to do is, you could have access to someone's, for example, Apple ID, but all that's going to tell you are things like give you access to pictures and videos and things like that.
Right.
Even to access someone's email, there's different levels of access. There's one level of access that just gives you basically your inbox, a list of all your emails. Who they're from, the date, time, and the subject, but not access to the email itself. That's a whole nother different level of access. And so this RUFADA, if you've heard of RUFADA, I forget, revised uniform digital assets, I can't remember what it is, but this RUFADA is supposed to be able to give access to digital information. But what you're describing is, if you create a legacy contact with Google or Apple or wherever you've got your digital accounts, that legacy contact should be able to contact to access it. But if you don't create a legacy contact, in my experience, they want a court order, and you can only get that by doing filing a request with the court to get that access.
So even letters of administration aren't sufficient. You need a specific court order for that company to be ordered to provide information?
Yeah. So, for example, I've had a client. Her husband passed. It was her ex-husband, and then her two children wanted memories, videos, pictures from his iPhone. And we, although she had letters of administration, she could not access that from Apple, and we had to file a motion to access that, and we had to serve Apple in Cupertino. It was crazy.
Wow.
We had to serve
Wow.
them for the hearing, and then we had to serve them with the order, and then they gave her
Wow.
access.
And they must have an army of attorneys handling these requests, right? You can't have been the only one that ever requested this. There must be plenty of people who need this overtime.
I wonder if people ask for it. I mean, most of my clients don't request that.
Wow.
But I have had a couple of cases in which they said, I really want this. But if you want the little boop, 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 open the iPhone,
Yeah.
they will not give that. You can't have a court order for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine that would be a challenge. And now, sometimes you don't know their assets. I've worked with error finders, error research companies. Do you work with some of them? Are they effective? Is there one you want to pitch or shout out to, or is it they're all different? Or how do you, when you know there might be assets, what do you do to try to find them? You don't know what stock company it's at, but there's probably some money somewhere.
There's just a few things that we are able to do. Of course, we should be getting the decedent's mail and not forwarded mail. So if you have, for example, a bank account, a checking, savings, cash account, that typically, if you're getting the statements in the mail, they typically say do not forward. And the reason why is the bank wants to know that you moved. And so it will be returned to them. Do not forward, return to sender. It goes back to the bank, and the bank is like, oh, well, this person doesn't live here anymore. Where is our depositor? So if you can get the actual mail, like if you go to the person's house and get the mail or the post office box, then that's better than forwarding. But forwarding is second best to try to capture some of the statements that you might receive in the mail. But if they have e-statements, they don't get paper statements, but they get them electronically. That's much more difficult to do it that way. Some of the things that we do to find assets is we look in the unclaimed property office. It's part of the California Controller's Office. And so they have, and I've done it for myself. Have you ever done that, Bill? Have you ever looked up your own name on the unclaimed property?
Yes.
I found money.
Yes, I had like $120.
Yeah.
For some insurance policy I had like 30 years or 20 years ago, and I found it. Yeah, no, it's legitimate.
Correct. So I've found something similar for myself on an old insurance policy that I had a premium that was overpaid, and money was due, and so it's like finding extra money in the couch, right? It's like, hey, well, I didn't have money. That's found money.
Yeah, it's like the funnest money you ever get is a check in the mail for something you forgot about.
Yeah, exactly. And then there is for insurance policies and annuities, because annuities are issued by insurance companies. There is the National Association of Insurance Carriers. I think that's the NAIC. They have a website, and you can put in someone's information, and they will tell you which insurance companies that person had a policy or an annuity with. And so that takes some time. You get a response by email. So in situations in which we think that the decedent might have had an insurance policy or an annuity, we can search their website for that.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever used any individual like investigators or inheritance research companies to find money?
Not for assets, but for people we have. So if we don't quite know where someone, like we know someone's name and their relationship, but we don't have their address, we've used those services. Or if we don't know all the heirs that might be of a person, we've also used their services. That can get really pricey. I think probably on the low end, you're talking $200. On the high end, thousands. So if you have international heirs, thousands.
Yeah, I've been a minister in two cases. One, we had to use a company to try to find where the errors were, and they charge like I think 12% or 16% of the inheritance. But in this case, they each got about $100,000. So I'm open to that phone call. Hey, if anybody else knows that I have money coming in that I don't know about, feel free to call me and I'll pay you 12% for that.
I'll take that too. Just don't tell me I'm like the heir to a Nigerian prince, or I don't know what these scams are. Legitimate.
Yeah, no, not that, for sure, not that. Well, and in my case, essentially, my last name Gross is actually very common. My paternal grandfather is one of 11 kids. I can't track any of them past my grandfather. So somewhere in the world, I'm sure I have some heirship of some sort. Not that I'm necessarily. I'd like to meet them rather than the money side of it, but I'm not against getting the money if I'm the only heir. Again, feel free to give me a call. My phone number's down below. Sam, look, we've kind of got a little over time. I always enjoy talking to you. I learned so much. I know that among other things, you're the chair of the San Bernardino Estate Planning Council. I'm a member there. I get your email. I get that. But also, for anybody who's interested, of course, you want more. Sam Price, pricelawfirm.com is his website, and I'll put down below as well his contact information and phone number, 909-328-7000. And the pricelawfirm.com. But don't miss out on probate notes. And, I loved when I saw the name of this, because if you're involved with probate, in the procedure side of it, maybe not, this is a little inside baseball for attorneys or for real estate agents, the whole game is the probate notes, and that's the name of your podcast. So is that, I've listened to a couple of episodes. I think there's one out recently in particular. I heard Thomas talk about the loans to the estate, and to a fantastic podcast. You do a great job.
Thank you, buddy. Coming from you, that's a huge compliment. And Probate Notes, we're coming out with new episodes every Tuesday. And so we're available on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify.
Yeah, definitely. And so again, pricelawfirm.com is a website. Phone number down below is best number 909-328-7000. Sam Price, one of the leading attorneys in San Bernardino County in Redlands. Again, a kind of fun spot in my heart for Redlands. Thank you so much for joining us today. I learned so much from you all the time.
I appreciate you, Bill. Thank you so much.
And for everybody else, this is Probate Weekly. We get together every week and talk to leading, primarily probate attorneys, but also vendors and professionals in the field to learn how to better serve our customers in the area of probate, trust administration, as well as litigation. If I can help, please reach out. My phone number down below, at Bill Gross Probate, and social media. If you like this, please like it. If you have comments, or you want to be interviewed, or you know somebody should be, put that in the comments as well. As always, make today